I want to welcome all the Rotarians and guests to the Rochester Rotary Club. We think the best cloud space in the country for fellowship and service. My name is Wayne Hodges, and I serve here for a couple more months as the president of the club, and I welcome each and every one of you. Will you all please pay respects to the flag with me and place your hand over your heart, take off your hats, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America,
and
to the republic
which it stands,
under
God,
liberty and justice.
liberty and justice for all.
liberty, justice for all.
Pick it up, Wayne.
Well, you know, we're a group of individuals, but we're all about the same thing. Will you all please join me in reciting the Rotary four-way test of the things we think,
Say, or do. Is it the truth?
is it fair to all concerned,
To build goodwill
and better friendships, be beneficial to all concerned,
Is it
be
fun?
fun for all.
Fun.
David Erdley. David, would you please give us today's invocation?
Yes, let's pray. Gracious God, we thank you for this day, and we ask your blessing upon us as we gather as a Rotary Club, as we continue to focus on service above self, as we give in the ways that we can in the midst of this pandemic, as Rotary responds in the ways that it has throughout the world to this pandemic. Lord, we pray for a cure. We pray for those who are sick, that they would be healthy. We pray for all of the first responders, for our leaders in our community and around the world who are dealing with this crisis. And we pray for our opportunities through virtual meetings such as this to connect with one another, to be healthy community during this challenging time. Be with us as we gather. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, you're on mute, Wayne. I think I've
For any guests that we have online, if you would go to the bottom of the screen and click on the chat feature and provide us with your contact information. We've got members of our membership committee that would love to reach out and provide you with the information that you seek to learn more about us. And we certainly would like to learn a little bit more about you. Moving on, I can't believe this. It's actually hard for me to say, but our 15th person to sign on today was our club secretary, Jeff Whitby. Now, Jeff, is that the second time you've done that? I mean, how do you make this happen? Well, I guess it's a secret. But Jeff, you're exempt from any fines today. Moving on to our member, Happy Bucks. If you've got Happy Bucks, you can go on the chat feature and basically type them in and share them with everybody else. Or if you wish, you can do them privately, as we talked about earlier. From Hogwash to everyone is paying a $10 fine, and Jan Riggs, which I assume is Kerry, is he wants to be fined $10. Anybody else got Happy Bucks? John Somerville and Vince. Vince is happy to have his Camaro Vertible out of storage. And John Somerville enjoyed last beautiful weekend. Julianne Moran today is Teacher Appreciation Day, so she would like to contribute in honor of our teachers. Julianne, I didn't remember that. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on, we have two birthdays to celebrate. David Blair on May 3rd and Vern Pixley on May 3rd. David, are you and Vern same age or no? Well, if you will join me in the singing of happy birthday to both David and to Vern Pixley. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarian.
Dear Rotarian. Happy birthday to you. $5, please. We sound wonderful, folks.
We
I
should
got to
be
tell you.
muted when we're singing.
Well, we're actually trying to find remember the old Mitch Miller bouncing ball that you could sing along on TV? We're trying to find the technology that would duplicate that. So because I'm convinced we need it. So if we can find it, you'll see it on screen. Moving on, club anniversaries. We have one, Ethan Hoffman on the 9th of May. Ethan will have completed his 3rd year with our club. So congratulations, Ethan. Moving on to our announcements. Tim Crawford. Tim, do you would want to say a couple of brief words about where we are on our postponed Masters golf raffle tickets? I know we've still got some for sale.
Yeah, so as everybody knows, we are, can you hear me? I'm assuming you can. The Masters has been postponed to November 14th. Mark that on your calendars. Somebody's going to get to take a private jet, fly out to Augusta, and enjoy the weekend. So our current plan is, God forbid, or God hoping, I guess, is 10/27, October 27th. We will pull the winning ticket.
Tim, can you talk a little closer to the mic? I can barely hear you.
All right, see if I can do that. All right, so 10/27 should be our Rotary live meeting, we hope, and that we actually get to pull the winning ticket on October 27th. We are about 34 tickets away from being sold out, so we got some work to do if we're able to do that. So a little bit of help. John Somerville had updated the original flyers to include the new dates. If we could get those hung in your golf courses of choice, that would be tremendous. It shouldn't take too long to get rid of those tickets. Remember, they're $100 a piece, and you get the opportunity to attend the Masters in a chartered jet. You also get dinner Saturday and lodging Saturday and Sunday. You get 2 tickets to enter the Masters. So tremendous trip. Good luck to everybody, but remember this: you can't win if you don't have a ticket. So the other thing is, we're going to have a raffle the day of 10/27. If the individual who wins elects not to go, we will live auction the package. So you have to be present, and you have to have bought a ticket to be able to get in the live auction. So should be fun. Good luck playing and walking golf. I walked Sunday, and it was about 5.5 miles in Oakland University. It was a chore to walk and play, but it was good to be out.
Thank you, Tim. John Somerville's put the details out on the chat for those of you who didn't catch everything that Tim said. I'd like to move on. You know, one of the things we started this year is we really beefed up the foundation committee led by Ernie Schaefer. And we've tried the first week of every month for them to give us just a few minutes of some new information and keeping us up to date on what's happening with the foundation activities. And Ernie, I think you're going to talk about Paul Harris Fellows today.
Yes, I would like to do that. I guess I'd start by saying, don't forget the foundation. You know, in this time of need throughout the world, the foundation probably has more demands on it than it normally has. So keep them in mind. If you would like to make a donation, you can email me. I'll be glad to help you. I think you're all pretty much aware that if you make a donation of $1,000 or more, you receive a Paul Harris Award. And the good news about that is you really don't have to, with our club, donate $1,000. You only have to donate $500. The club matches that, and you end up with a Paul Harris Award. The one thing, though, that I do want to talk a little more specifically about today that we haven't really discussed a whole lot in the club, and that is recognition points. If you have a Paul Harris, if you've donated $1,000, actually, if you've donated $1, for every dollar you donate, you get a recognition point. So if you donate $1,000, you have 1,000 recognition points. With those recognition points, you can award a Paul Harris to a person of your choice. So if you have a Paul Harris and you've actually donated $1,000, then you have the ability to give a Paul Harris to Wayne Hodges for doing an outstanding job as president, or whoever you think merits some recognition within the club. If you've done 5 Paul Harrises, given 5,000, then you have 5,000 recognition points, and you could award 5 Paul Harrises to individuals of your choice. The reason I bring this up is number one, we haven't used it a lot in our club, although we have used it some, but we have an awful lot of members who have an awful lot of recognition points. So I would advise you, if you have those points, if you have Paul Harris awards, start thinking about who you could reward with these recognition points. It's one of the ways the club also has recognition points for the donations it's made as a club. And it's one of the ways we recognize certain individuals, certain people, with these recognition points. So keep that in mind. If you have questions, feel free to get a hold of me, call me, email me, whatever. And since I know you all want to make a big contribution to the foundation, why, feel free to send me an email with the details on that also. Thank you.
Ernie, how do we find out how many points we have?
I can tell you how many points you have. I've got a list. If you have if you have Paul Harris awards and you've never used those points, then pretty much it's the number of Paul Harris awards you have. So if you have 2, you've got 2,000 recognition points, that kind of thing. But feel free to send me an email. I'll be glad to tell you how many points you have.
Ernie, I basically got a Paul Harris when I was with the Troy Rotary Club. Would they still have that on record?
Good question. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. I don't think it shows up in our club record, and maybe we could work to get that transferred. I don't know. I'll have to check into that one. Any other questions? Great, thanks.
Wayne, you're muted. Are you
Yeah.
talking?
How about that? Does that work? Okay.
We like it better when it's muted.
I was looking at Phil Lohman's hat and I got all confused. But you're going to be receiving an email this week, and we're actually going to send it out to all members and friends. The charities board and the club board has been hard at work trying to figure out how do we recover as a club from the impact of the COVID-19 virus, as well as the social distancing countermeasures that have been put in place. That it's all very appropriate, but how do we get as much back to a normal life as possible? And in particular, looking at donations as well as our service projects. We got an activity going that right now we're calling the Phoenix Project, because it's, if you think about it, it's as if our donations activity and our service projects have basically just crashed. And out of the ashes, we need to rise up and basically put back together that which we can to be the club that we are capable of being, and as much of the club as we used to be, and hopefully even better in some respects. So you'll be receiving an email this week on Project Phoenix, And what we're really asking you to do is to help us with the brainstorming. If you've got folks that you know of, other organizations that have had a great idea, or if you've got one yourself, please share it with us, okay? We on the board are trying, but we don't have a monopoly on the great ideas, and we need you to participate so that we come up with the best ideas for our club, well, even if we have to continue to maintain some social distancing going forward, that we can begin to come back to life, even in the area of raising funds and performing service projects. So please, when you get that email, please think about it and then get back to us. And because we think this is the next critical step. I mean, our club has recovered a lot from where we were 6 weeks ago, but we still have got some areas that we think that with the kind of creativity and the kind of dedication that our membership has, we can go further. We just need to come up with the ideas. So, has anybody got any questions on that? If not, one of the first thing, we had a first last week for our club in that we had a new member join by a Zoom meeting. And today we're going to have another first. We're going to have a honorary member join for the first time by Zoom meeting. Kelly Messing-Mirabito, where are you?
Right here.
I see you out there.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Well, Kelly, at the end, if you want to say some words about yourself, you would be welcomed. If not, I'll be happy to read what you sent in.
Okay.
You were so gracious so that we can post it on the website. But Kelly, you have been chosen to membership as an honorary membership in the Rochester Rotary Club because you manifest those qualities of head and heart needed to serve Rotary and impart the message of Rotary to those with whom you come in contact. And this is particularly true with the work you've done with the youth over there at Rochester High. I charge you to judge yourself by the Rotary four-way test and the things you think, say, and do. I wish to impress upon you that you are being admitted not only to the Rochester Rotary Club, but you will be also welcomed in the worldwide association of individuals dedicated to the Rotary motto of service above self. By virtue of your honorary membership in this club, you will be welcomed into the fellowship of any Rotary club in the world. The honor and privilege of Rotary membership carries with it duties and obligations. As an honorary member, we do not have such strict expectations for for attendance at meetings, but to the extent that you can and to the extent that you feel so inclined, we would encourage you to attend our club meetings regularly, actively participate in club service. In particular, I think we would enjoy seeing greater collaboration between our affiliate clubs like the Interact clubs and our parent club, the Rotary Club, and to offer your knowledge, talents, and energy to the club in its efforts to serve in our community. I would now ask all Rotarians and guests to please rise. Kelly, on behalf of the members of the club, I formally admit you to the honorary membership of the Rochester Rotary Club. Fellow Rotarians, I commend to you our newest member, Kelly Messing-Mirabito, and charge all of you to welcome her, to engage her in our projects, fun, and fellowship. Let's please have a warm welcome for our newest member, Kelly Messing-Mirabito.
Thank you.
Kelly, would you like to say something, or would you prefer I read what you submitted?
Well, I'm very honored and I'm very excited to be involved in Rotary, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know everyone a little bit better. I feel like I've been attending your meetings from time to time for years now, but I am really excited to be able to participate in some more activities and also strengthen that relationship with Interact and Rotary. And I think this will be a good stepping stone for that to to create a more solid foundation, a relationship there. So I'm super excited. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next exciting activity. John Somerville, are you ready for the Rotarian of the Week award?
I am indeed. So it has been an honor this week to have the Rotarian of the Week award and a privilege to not actually have it in my house. But I wanted to recognize somebody who has had a big influence on my perspective of what Rotary is, what it means to be a Rotarian. She's a shining example of service above self through her work both locally and internationally, and helped make it possible to produce probably one of the most important pieces of work of my career so far. So please help me in making Linda Eastman feel appreciated as this week's Rotarian of the Week.
Congratulations, Linda. It couldn't happen to a nicer Rotarian. You know, the nice thing for you, Linda, is that you're always on the screen with Jay, so I assume you get to share it with him.
Thank you, John. That means a lot to me. Thanks a lot. Really. I'm excited.
Moving on to one of the duller parts of our meeting, I would like to introduce the mayor, the nation's mayor, our sheriff today, Brian Barnett.
Wow, deafening applause. Certainly. Hey, so for the first part of this, you're going to have to kind of look around at the screens because you can learn a lot about Rotarians based on some of the screens. Might have to scroll right or left. First of all, it's obvious just based on what I can see from my perspective that Jay and Linda Eastman are still the most disgustingly cute couple on the planet. I mean, you can even try to social distance does not exist in the Eastman household. You can't get them away even when they're on computers. You also do not want to get in a staring contest with Dave Schellenberger. I mean, look at that guy. That guy is locked in. Do not get in a staring contest with him. Anyone with a fake background, which was Tom Nouveau and Tim Duncan, obviously you sort of have to question everything else in their lives if they will only get in front of a fake background. I am making an assumption that Jeff Whitby, Cindy Andrews, Roger Roller, Ryan Heal, and others who refuse to use their cameras are probably still not showered and in their pajamas, and we're closing in on 12:30. If you take a look at Shirley Gofrank, if you can find her, you can see that she is now in some sort of witness protection program based on her screen. I'm a little bit concerned about Paul Haig. If you look at his view, there's obviously something very heavy and probably from ancient China that looks like it's about ready to fall on his head. So Paul, be real careful where you are. And then if you look over for Steve Schettenhelm, I'm not sure if he's concerned that people will forget that he's a police officer, but there's something about compensating when you have to put the world's biggest badge right behind your head. I'll leave it there for now. I'm just assuming that there's uproarious laughter since I can't hear anything. This is like, Jimmy Kimmel at night, right? So we're in day 600 of quarantine. I just want to remind everybody that all of the monies raised today are going towards Carol Lohman's therapy. So please give generously. She's been locked in a terrible situation for over 45 days. Please lead with your heart, Rotarians, lead with your heart. If you think in day whatever this is, a quarantine, that the president, governor, county executive, and mayor are doing a good job, it's $3. By the way, if I mentioned any of you so far, it's $5 on the screen. So if you think the president, governor, county executive, mayor are doing a good job, it's $3. If you think that the president, governor, county executive, and mayor are doing a bad job, it's $3. And if you and all of your infinite wisdom would do anything different than any of those folks, it's $5. Screw you, this isn't easy. If during quarantine you've read a book, it's $3. If you've done a puzzle, it's $3. If you've actually learned something about your spouse, it's $5. If you found your lost keys, socks, diploma, Rotary Masters golf raffle tickets, or anything else that you've lost, it's $5. By the way, I want to congratulate, this is actually pretty cool, all the Rotarians that have embraced technology. That's pretty impressive. You all are figuring out this new world of to meet virtually. I also want to congratulate John Somerville, who has now effectively stolen all of our information. So thank you, John. Appreciate that. Well done. Way to facilitate this. There is something nice about this that I do actually appreciate. You know, I usually arrive right at 12:10. I get in the back of the room. And so it's hard for me to witness prayer. But man, what a fantastic way to witness prayer in this group, because I was able to see who was closing their eyes and who wasn't. So Ernie, Tom, Julianne, and John, let's try to be a little more respectful. Shut those eyes for prayer. And believe it or not, you think those folks are bad. Tim Crawford looked right at me and gave me the finger. So really, really inappropriate and certainly deserving of a $5 fine for Tim Crawford. Today is Cinco de Mayo. So if you've ever if you've had a taco today, it's $5. If you've ever been to Mexico, it's $5. If you've ever done a job and been paid in pesos, there's got to be a story there, but it's $5. When you sleep, if you cuddle yourself in and wrap yourself like a burrito, it's $5. If Cinco de Mayo is the only Spanish you know, it's $5. If you prefer queso to salsa, it's $3. If you've ever done a Zoom call with salsa or queso on your shirt, it's $3. If you've ever wondered what queso on a shirt or hat looks like, take a look at Phil Lohman. I think he's got some on today. It is also Teacher Appreciation Day. We honor our teachers and those that have educated us. We appreciate them. If you have ever been a teacher, there are no fines for you today. You're the only folks that are exempt. If you're married to a teacher and you've ever had your grammar corrected, it's $5. If you've ever learned anything from a teacher, really reaching here, I want everyone to give $5. If you've ever hit on a teacher, it's a $5 Phil Lohman fine. And if you think that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, it's a $5 Tim Duncan fine. And if you are an old dog, which for today's purposes is anyone older than 46, it's also $5. It's also Giving Tuesday. If you've donated during this crisis, it's $3 and a warm thank you for your generosity. If you volunteered during this crisis, it's $3 and again, a warm thank you for your generosity. If you've ever gone to church and not given, look at David Early. David Early perked up right there. It's a $3 fine. If you've ever been a minister and you've actually counted the giving during your sermon, it's also a $5 David Early fine. If you've ever made change in the offering plate, it's $3. If you've ever given someone advice, that's not what this day is about. That's $3. If you've ever had someone give you a piece of your mind, it's $5, and you're also probably married. And if Phil Lohman has ever given you anything, not just on Giving Tuesday, but anything, I would immediately call Steve Shethelm, put it down, and get yourself tested for herpes. Finally, this really sucks without any interaction. So I'm assuming you're all putting your money down and all at least helping me out with this a little bit. Listen, we'll end with one final thing. Thank you for all of you who have continued to support the city and the community in this crisis. We've given out over 10,000 masks in the last 2 weeks. We have a truckload of bleach arriving next week that we're happy to help other folks pass out. And if you need any bleach, let us know. The curve is still rising, but flattening here. We have all sorts of cases. My fire chief right now is COVID-19. We're still battling it hard. We can't wait for our local businesses to open up. Thank you for your patience and for all that you're doing as a Rotary to support the community. This is what is fantastic about our community. So I guess the final thing would be is if you're grateful that even through quarantine, you're blessed to have a home, friends like this that you see on a screen like this, organizations that support our community, and that soon we're going to open up and be stronger than we ever were before. please put down $5 as well. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Brian. I must tell you that I've actually observed some of our seniors in the community getting phone calls from city employees just to check and see how they're doing. And I got to tell you, that is just a tremendous touch of class. Something I've come to expect from Rochester Hills, but that is very impressive. I see the look on their faces. I see the tears in the corner of their eyes, and it truly makes a difference. And I thank you.
Wait, can I say one other thing? I forgot one.
No, your time's up.
Well,
go ahead.
You better mute me because I'm going to get catch up. Let me just say a huge congratulations to our team. We've been making over 3,200 calls each week. I have a list of seniors that I call every week, but our team's doing a great job. And if I could do one more thing. Hey, Maria. So I forgot to mention this in Happy Bucks, but if you didn't hear, just today on Monday, Maria Willett was recognized in Cranes for being one of the 20 greatest team members, 20 in their 20s in all of Metro Detroit. She's absolutely outstanding. She's obviously an engaged Rotarian, and she just won one of the biggest honors you can get in Metro Detroit for being listed as one of Cranes 20 under 20. So if you like Maria, it's $5.
Outstanding. Hi, Maria. Congrats.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Brian and Maria. Because Brian, we know one thing, okay? Without Maria there supporting you, okay, you wouldn't be the same Brian Barnett.
Wayne, I'm making masks, and if anyone needs a mask, I'll be glad to deliver it.
Okay, cool.
Email me if you need one.
All right, and that was Christine Haig speaking. All right. Again, thanks, Brian. Moving on, just as a quick reminder, the same Zoom link that you use today will be the same Zoom link you use for all of our future weekly meetings. That way you not have to try and find a new one every week. But it's my pleasure to turn the podium or virtual podium over to another one of our Rotarians who is very critically active in our community and yet very new to our club. She replaced Christine Haig not long ago as the chief over there at the library. I believe it's executive director is the official title. Mm-hmm. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Julian Morian and
wonderful.
How COVID-19 has affected the Rochester Public Library.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's it's May 5th today. This marks 5 months that I have been on the job. So it's been a tremendous year, 3 of which were sort of regular time and 2 of which were during the pandemic. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I do have a quick PowerPoint that I put together. Let's do this. Okay. Hopefully you can see our beautiful building, Rochester Hills Public Library. It is standing and waiting for us to come back. The team has been working remotely for quite some time now, but I thought this was just such a wonderful way to sort of remind ourselves of what we have to look forward to and the fact that we are planning to reopen this building as soon as it is possible and safe. I know you have fond memories of it, but I also want to share some comments from our community at large. So here we hear from Stephanie, and she says, RHPL has a vast amount of books, games, movies, resources to choose from. You may walk in for one thing and come out with 5 other things you didn't even know existed, which I love. This person, Gretchen, mentioned that I love that the library and its setting with its trees and gardens and the sounds of the Pink Creek rushing by, which you can still enjoy right now. I'm glad to see other people of all ages and cultures around me. It's a joy to take my toddler grandson to play where he can interact with children who speak other languages. So I love how much is packed into this comment because it's not only talking about the environment around the library, which again, you can still enjoy right now. It's also talking about how the library is a place where you go and you meet people who are similar to you and also different. And we love that. We love that we're this community hub for everyone. This one is for all my real estate agents out there. I love the fact that this person said, our library is one of the biggest reasons why I would not want to move away from the community it serves. We love to talk up the library and how we think it's one of the best investments of your tax dollars, one of the best returns on your tax dollars. So all of this, these quotes, we obtained earlier in the year while I was director, and we hosted a 2020 community survey. So it was retrospective. It was looking back over, their last years at the library. We're going to talk about how we took some of that information and how we're pivoting, even in the pandemic mode, to serve our customers best. So this is actually a huge shout out to Christine. You can see here, I shared one snippet from the community survey where we asked, how would you rate your overall satisfaction with the public library? 93% said they are very satisfied. That's tremendous. And 5% said they're somewhat satisfied. So both in the positives there. When you look down the list in terms of somewhat unsatisfied or not at all satisfied, you're looking at 38 people, 38 out of the 70,000 cardholders that we have, and we serve 105,000 customers. So these are amazing numbers, and kudos to Christine for that. She created an amazing foundation for me to come in. Like I said, about 5 months ago, I started on December 5th. This is a little bit more about me, and I'm going to talk about this, how it's informed some of my leadership during what's been arguably the most challenging part of my career thus far, leading during a pandemic. So my background, I'm a graduate of the University of Michigan School of Information, go Blue. I have a specialization in user-centered design. So I share this with you because I don't come out of traditional librarianship. The field of information studies is changing. It's evolving, much like our libraries of today. We honor the legacy and reading foundation that we came from, but we're exploring some new direction for the library, some trends and some emerging new directions that we can take libraries in. I've been a library administrator in a neighbor library system for just over 10 years. And I've got an amazing network of colleagues across the state and nation, and never has that been more important right now as the entire world has been shut down with the pandemic. It's given me great reach to talk to fellow librarians across the state and the nation in terms of determining best practices. You can see here that I've served on the board of directors at the Michigan Library Association. That's our premier statewide association. And I've been in charge of chairing various conferences. And the reason I share that with you is because I have a unique role then in terms of keeping my finger on the pulse of what are those emerging trends, what are those things that we want to be teaching to our fellow professionals and colleagues in the field, and staying abreast of all things public libraries and really kind of crystal balling and forecasting what's coming down the pike. Everyone told me that your first year is the hardest. Never has that been more true. I have an amazing team of about 130 staff members total, 30 of which are full-time and 9 of which are managers. So much of my time during the pandemic has been working with that smaller leadership team, quite honestly. Our spring was supposed to be focused on strategic planning and coming up with what we thought were going to be the priorities that were set by the board and then given to us as a leadership team, and then we would run with. But of course, we had to pivot and plan for a pandemic instead. So for the last 2 months, I have been digging in on all things pandemic, basically. This is kind of ironic. In my previous role, I actually did receive some FEMA certification. So I put this on here just as a bit of a lark. If you read closely in the fine print there, you'll see that what I'm certified in is National Response Framework and Introduction. So I don't profess to be highly trained in FEMA, but this speaks to the fact that at my previous role and what I brought over to Rochester, we were constantly thinking about how libraries would respond to some sort of natural disaster, how we could be there and how we could rise to the challenge and play a pivotal role in bringing our communities back online. In many instances, after a community has survived some sort of trauma like that, libraries serve as an integral hub. So that's where my training was based in, and now I get to use some of those principles as we prepare for coming out and reopening after a pandemic. On the other side of the screen, you can see I tend to be the kind of leader that overcompensates in a crisis, and so I have been doing best practices, manuals, how to navigate communicable diseases, writing so many different sort of how-to guides to help equip the staff and get us through this. Some of you probably know this. When we initially got that the mandate to shut down that happened in about mid-March, the very first wave of this was largely just to close the public itself. And I wanted to share this with you because how we sort of closed down the building might actually mirror how we reopen the building. So drive-through service is incredibly important to us. We know that about 80% of the customers will enjoy being able to access our materials. That's largely how they experience the library. 80% really just enjoy checking in and checking out of books. Of course, you know, that's not to say that we aren't still going to be doing some form of virtual programming and planning for a time when we can reconvene as a group inside the library, but we're really critically focused on how we get that drive-through service back up and running as soon as possible. So what you see on your screen here is actually a picture of us in mid-May when we were scaling back our services and we were allowed to do drive-through, but then the executive order came, and we all know this, almost all establishments that were not designed to sustain life were shut down officially. So this was an unfortunate picture, but I wanted to document it nonetheless. So we have been in shutdown mode since about March 20th. As a result, we have had to be nimble, and we have pivoted into virtual RHPL. So this is just a snapshot of things that we quickly focused on. We knew we had grand plans to eventually revamp our website, and we had to track those. So what you see here is the updated version of our online resources. Some things that I'll call out to your attention is the fact that anyone in our community can apply for a Rochester Hills Public Library card. So if you know of someone who might not have access yet to the library, please encourage them to go to our website, fill out the application online. We have a workflow in place that would get them that library card immediately without needing to do some sort of check of their driver's license and things like that. So we are fast tracking that. You can see other things that we've offered. We actually are offering live assistance. So this is a sort of a challenge to try to figure out the technology behind it, but I'm proud of my team for coming together, and we basically have assembled a little call center. So between 1 and 5, it's manned by some of our staff, and so anyone can call and receive assistance. You can see we've posted all of our video lectures that we've amassed over the last few years, so people can come online here and just check those out, and a whole variety of online resources that everyone can enjoy. Additionally, we have ramped up our electronic content. So I'll highlight in the middle of your page, you see something there called tutor.com. So tutor.com is a live tutoring service that we've invested in. Part of what we wanted to do was support our distance learners, our students. Tutor.com will connect K through 12 students who are looking for live assistance with a real tutor in real time. So if people are struggling with some of their classwork, they can log on and they can get access to a tutor. And they can do so with either their Rochester Hills Public Library card, or we have a unique relationship with the students at Rochester Community Schools, and they can log on with just their RCS student ID. So again, trying to take all the friction out of this and make this as easy as possible for anyone to use. Additionally, if you love just reading or listening to audiobooks or listening to music or watching movies, we have absolutely invested in our electronic content. So we used to spend around $70,000 each year on our ebooks and our e-audio. We increased that by an additional $25,000 just because of this pandemic. I mentioned when I started this that I'm a big believer in strategic planning. So rather than waste a good crisis, I took this as an opportunity to actually take my leadership team and walk them through the steps that I thought we were going to do for strategic planning in a grand way, but really focusing it on the virtual library experience and looking at through this lens of a mini strategic plan, thinking about it as though, how would we develop a strategic plan for the next 2 to 3 months? What are the priorities we're going to focus on, and what are the goals we have? So I'm just going to gloss over this. You're welcome to read it in full. It's on our website if you want to see our full plan. But what we have decided to focus on during virtual library, virtual RHPL, is motivating reading, listening, and viewing, inspiring confident virtual learners, nurturing reflection and resilience, connecting the community to information, and creating research entrepreneurs. Below that, we've got a whole bunch of goals that we're working on, and it speaks to the action plan behind it. We've also solved problems with our existing resources. So here's an example where we have a lot of Wi-Fi that we have always been focused on, broadcasting throughout our facility. Well, we took it upon ourselves to say, that can be broadcast outwards to the parking lot and helping people who might need to drive by and get free Wi-Fi access. So in our south parking lot, and it's being used heavily, you are allowed to kind of come there, park, stay 6 feet away from everyone else, and use our Wi-Fi. We've also been innovative with our resources. So here's an example of where we used our 3D printer. Our makerspace specialist actually came to the site and took it home to her. I allowed her to do that. And she ended up printing as many someone in the health community who received one of our shields and was actually wearing it. All right. And then keep showing up. So my last slide is all about basically things that we are doing right now to stay connected. We have a RHPL community display. This is where normally we would have display shelves in the library and feature an artist. We can't do that because we're not in the library, but we had a local artist who came to us and said, I've designed some art that speaks to where we are right now in the pandemic. So we've decided to do a community display, but online. And additionally, we're staying with story times at home, and we're programming for a virtual RHPL experience at this point. As I wind down, I know we're getting close to 1. I want to do one thing before I let you all go. I want to remind you that our News and Views newsletter, typically it would come up because we want that information to be as up to date as possible. So we are going to be sending out a digital version of our News and Views, but know that we will be going back to the print version as soon as fall. It's just we wanted it to be as current as possible, and a print edition needs at least a month lead time, and we knew that information in this fluid environment would be out of date the minute we sent it out. So look for that shortly. And the last thing I wanted to share with you is the RHPL annual report. So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to stop sharing and then I'm going to reshare in just 1 second. It's 2 minutes long. Hopefully we can see it. I'm going to hit play. Somebody will have to chat with me if you don't see it. Report for you all on what the public library has been up to. I can entertain questions, but I know we're close to 1 o'clock. So if anybody wants to either chat with me offline or let me know anything I can answer, I'm happy to do so.
Thank you, Julianne. It's very informative. And if people do have questions, please contact Julianne, because I can see she's like the person she replaced, she's a wealth of knowledge and very creative. And we're blessed to have you as part of our team and in our community. Thank you again. Couple quick updates. Next week, our speaker will be Kathy Lazinski, who will be talking to us about helping those in need during the pandemic. You know, those of you who know Kathy is down in the trenches every day working with folks that have really been affected. Last but not least, for anyone that is a visitor, or if you know someone who is interested, on our website, we have both an e-brochure and the e-guest information sheet that you can download from our website and give to them to provide additional information on our club and our activities, as well as identify to them the kind of information that we would be interested in learning about them. With that, I think we had 45 attendees today. And the last thing I want to announce is, I don't know the number today, but last week, this club donated $300. We normally donate about $220 on an average face-to-face meeting. So it proves to me that we can, you know, exceed what we used to do. We just need to want to do it. So with that, ding, 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 meeting adjourned.